Welcome back to the Solita Summit studio. And I have the first round of experts with me here again. It's Tuuli, Maiju, and Lasse to summarize some of the sessions that we listened to this round. And just to recap, some of the companies that we listened to are Kone, Wärtsilä, Åhléns, Finnish textile and fashion, as well as some Solita experts. So let's start with Tuuli this time. What did you hear?
Yes, I was listening to the Åhléns presentation. I could start with that. And well, for those who don't know, Åhléns is Sweden's biggest department store. And one philosophy, or should I say attitude, that their CIO, Stefan, shared is the idea of failing forward. And meaning that you need to fail in order to be more productive. Or in other words, failing is part of moving forward. And one example that Stefan gave us related to business life was that it's all about momentum. If you just put all your time in planning and you plan and plan and plan, you might be late. So you should always be at least a little bit embarrassed about those first products that you release. And that's where the iteration then can really start.
And Maiju, you listened to Wärtsilä.
Yes.
Among others.
Yep. Wärtsilä is a global shipyard. And there's something familiar about this failing forward. They also have a very new approach to data. They are starting to build data products, which for a designer is actually not very new. It's kind of a longer term approach, product thinking, user centricity, like strong business ownerships. But when it comes to data world, it's actually quite new. And I'm kind of so happy to listen to this talk because our clients are taking like a brave steps, something totally new approach, and they are kind of, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be some failings, but it's still a step forward because they need to adapt to the change. And the future will happen, it will change. So that's kind of really, really interesting. And I really believe that this kind of a strong impact comes when you're able to bring new things, combine new and old, combine different approaches. And it is a constant change, and we need to take these new approaches and steps.
Mm-hmm. So that momentum that Tuuli talked about, it sounds like Wärtsilä has reached a certain level of momentum in this.
Yes.
And are exploring. That's great. Lasse, what about you?
Yeah, I was listening now mostly to the Kone presentation, a company that's been helping people move up and down in buildings for a longer time. I also had the privilege of seeing our own Massimo's presentation earlier about Gen AI vulnerabilities, and you might not think that there's anything in common with these sessions, but what they do highlight for me is new access modes to enterprise information, and kind of bridges a little bit with the other topics too. Things are changing very fast, so whether it is harmful attack vectors enabled by LLMs, or then in the case of Kone, what they talked about is a business application that combines software engineering, data engineering, and AI engineering. Things are coming together, and there's new ways that we access enterprise information. And for IT leaders and enterprise architects and so on, there's a new challenge in just how do we architect our environment so that these modes can be enabled. I think like the traditional conventional 2D architecture diagrams with boxes on top of each other, that might not be enough anymore. We need something better than that.
Tuuli, anything else that came to mind when you listened to your co-experts?
Yes, well, maybe as Maiju said, adapting to new approaches in data, such as data products, that's really becoming essential, and building on top of Lasse's ideas about the different aspects of AI and what you need to consider. So maybe to continue with another area where adaptation is the key. So looking ahead, one critical theme is digital traceability, which has been highlighted in the sustainability track today. And we have heard examples from regulatory-driven initiatives like EU deforestation regulation or these digital product passports, which are pushing companies to track their supply chains and the data generated along the way. more carefully. But as we heard Emilia emphasize in her presentation from the Finnish Textile and Fashion Association, this traceability is not only about compliance, it's also about the value and opportunities that this data can bring. And well, in concrete, this means that creating additional value for customers by building trust and enabling new services and supporting more meaningful experiences. And of course, this is not really so straightforward, especially if you're not like used to collecting this kind of data throughout the value chain, and you have not done that like systematically and automated way. But I see that there is a need for this kind of digital traceability in the future. So the journey might be incremental, but you need to do that piece by piece.
Yeah, I think one of my key takeaways so far from this event, sort of Rachel's keynote as well, I haven't realized how much technology is related to trust and how important trust is in building sort of both solutions, technology, but also sort of connecting with your customers. And yeah, trust is everything, basically. So Lasse, any sort of final reflections?
Yeah, I mean, the traceability is a good example of this, what I mentioned earlier about new ways of accessing information. It goes in various ways in our enterprise sort of systems. Data products too, and I know there's been a lot of talk about data products in the last few years. Now with the introduction of LLMs, now we talk about model context protocols, or MCPs, being a new form of data products. So there's a lot to learn, and I think the point of trust links to that, because we often say that for business leaders, now you need to be AI literate. But I think equally for IT leaders, they need to also be not just AI literate, but start being more business literate and understand these new business functions and processes and how they're accessing information. That helps to build trust. So when we understand each of our roles, it helps with the trust building within organizations as well. So links to trust again.
Yeah, great point. Any last words, Maiju?
Yeah, it's super interesting to hear about the data products, the traceability, the LLMs. And I think, for example, we have clients who are already combining all these three. And I think kind of the way forward is definitely something that you have multiple disciplinaries, you have like different backgrounds, you converse different approaches, and the mindset kind of like reinvent your approach from the multiple aspects. And it's constant learning, and it really needs the trust. But I think we are living in a very interesting times, because in a way, innovations, new things happen in these edges of different like disciplines or approaches, and when you kind of have crashing different things together, that's where the new happens.
Totally agree.